When did a perfect relationship unravel in one night? I never thought a single night could destroy everything I believed was uncheckable. But the truth is, love doesn't collapse slowly. Sometimes it shatters in an instant. When I met Claire, I didn't just fall in love. I fell into certainty. The kind of certainty that makes you stop questioning whether happiness can last. She had this way of laughing loud, genuine, unapologetic that made strangers turn their heads just to feel a fraction of her joy. I'd always been cautious, the planner, the one with walls. But with her, I didn't even realize when the walls came down. We'd been together 4 years. We talked about marriage, about kids, even about buying that little white house near the lake. Everyone said we were perfect together, and maybe that was part of the problem. When people keep telling you you're perfect, you start ignoring the cracks. That night started like any other. A Friday. I was finishing up work when she texted me. "Don't be late. I have a surprise." I smiled at my phone. She loved surprises, little ones mostly. New wine she'd found, a goofy board game, a candle that smelled like roasted marshmallows. I drove home humming to the radio, thinking maybe she'd booked us a weekend trip. When I walked through the door, the apartment smelled like her perfume mixed with wine. 2 glasses already poured on the table. She was sitting on the couch, legs tucked under her, wearing that silk robe I'd bought her last Christmas. "You're late," she teased, but her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. I kissed her forehead and sat beside her. "What's the surprise?" She lifted her glass. "You'll see." We drank. She kept fiddling with the tie of her robe, winding and unwinding it. I noticed her phone buzzing on the coffee table. She flipped it face down without checking. I tried to ignore the unease twisting in my gut. "You're quiet tonight," I said. "Just tired." But it wasn't just tired. Her shoulders were tense, her laugh forced. When I asked about her day, she gave me clipped answers. And when her phone buzzed again, she shoved it into the pocket of her robe like it was something dangerous. I reached out gently. "Claire, what's going on?" She froze. For a second, her eyes flicked to the bedroom door. Just a flicker, barely noticeable. But enough. My heart started hammering. "Claire, is someone here?" Her lips parted, then closed again. She shook her head too quickly. "Of course not." The air between us turned thick, heavy. I stood, my legs trembling though I tried to hide it. I walked to the bedroom door, every step like dragging chains. I don't know what I expected. Maybe nothing. Maybe something harmless. But when I pushed it open, he was standing there. A man, shirt half buttoned, shoes still on, holding his jacket like he'd been about to sneak out. My chest collapsed in on itself. The wine in my stomach curdled. I couldn't breathe. Claire shot up from the couch. "Wait, it's not." "Not what?" My voice cracked, sharp. "Not what it looks like." The stranger raised his hands. "I should go." "Yeah, you should," I snapped. But Claire rushed forward, blocking him. "No, stay." That was the moment everything shattered. Not him being there, not even the betrayal itself, but her choosing him in that second, choosing him to stay, while I stood there breaking apart. I felt like the floor had tilted, like gravity had changed and I was falling sideways through my own life. My hands were shaking so violently I had to shove them into my pockets to hide it. "Who is he?" I asked. My voice was calm in that terrifying way calm sometimes means you're seconds away from exploding. She swallowed hard. "His name is Ryan." Ryan. Just a name, but it burned. I stared at her. The woman I thought I knew better than myself. The woman I was going to propose to in a few months. She couldn't even look me in the eye. "How long?" I asked. Her silence was louder than any answer. The stranger Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I didn't know." I cut him off. "Shut up." He went pale. Claire reached for me, but I stepped back. I couldn't stand her touch. Not when her robe still smelled like me, but her body had belonged to him minutes ago. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Tears pooled in her eyes, but I didn't believe them. "I didn't mean for you to find out this way." Find out? As if I was supposed to find out eventually. As if this was some twisted inevitability. Something inside me snapped. My voice rose without permission. "How many nights?" "In our bed." "While I was out there planning a future for us, you were." The words tangled in my throat. Rage, grief, humiliation, they fought each other until I couldn't speak at all. And then, from behind me, I heard the unmistakable sound of a door unlocking. But I hadn't touched the front door. Someone else had just walked into the apartment. The sound of the lock twisting sent ice through my veins. Claire went rigid. Ryan's face drained of color. And then the door swung open. It was her sister, Emily, the one who lived an hour away. The one Claire always said was too busy to visit. She stepped inside carrying a paper bag of groceries, humming to herself until she saw us frozen in the living room. Her eyes flicked from me, to Claire in the silk robe, to Ryan half-dressed in our bedroom doorway. The bag slipped from her hands. Apples rolled across the floor, bumping against my shoes. "Claire," Emily whispered. Her voice cracked like glass. My stomach lurched. I turned to Claire, desperate for some explanation that would make sense of this circus unraveling in my home. But Claire's face was unreadable. Not shocked, not horrified, just cornered. "Emily, what are you doing here?" She snapped too hard, like she wasn't surprised at all. Emily's lips trembled. "You said tonight. Tonight he wouldn't be here. That it would be safe." I blinked, unsure I'd heard right. "Safe?" Ryan swore under his breath. Claire rushed toward Emily, grabbing her arm. "Not now. We'll talk later." But Emily pulled free, tears spilling down her cheeks. "You promised me. You promised he'd never find out." The room spun. My ears rang. "Find out what?" My voice was hoarse, barely audible. Emily looked at me, guilt twisting her features. "It wasn't just him," she whispered. Her voice broke completely. "It's me too." The silence after her confession was unbearable. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I stared between them, the woman I loved, the stranger in my bedroom, and her own sister. "What the hell are you saying?" My voice rose, sharp and raw. Emily's sobs filled the room. She backed toward the door like a trapped animal. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean Claire. I can't do this anymore." Claire lunged forward, grabbing her shoulders. "Don't you dare. Don't you say another word." But it was too late. The truth had already cracked open, spilling everywhere. I staggered back against the wall, bile rising in my throat. You've been with both of them." Claire's eyes darted wildly, looking for an exit that didn't exist. "It's not what you think." Ryan muttered, "Jesus Christ, Claire," and started for the door. "Stay!" Claire snapped at him, the same way she'd snapped earlier. The command in her voice was chilling. He froze, like he'd heard that tone before. My vision tunneled. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to tear the room apart just to match the chaos ripping through me. But all I could do was whisper, "Why?" Claire finally looked at me. Her face softened, like she was slipping into some rehearsed explanation. "Because you were too perfect," she said quietly. "Do you get it now? You loved me so much, so completely, that I couldn't breathe. I needed someone who saw the flaws, someone who wouldn't expect me to be untouchable." Her words sliced me open. Too perfect? That was her excuse for detonating everything we'd built. Emily sobbed harder, covering her face. "Don't put this on him, Claire. You pulled me into this. You made me believe." "Shut up," Claire screamed. Her mask cracked, rage pouring out. "You think he'll ever believe you? You think anyone will? You're pathetic. You always have been." Emily flinched like she'd been struck. I couldn't take it anymore. I stormed toward the door, past Ryan, past Claire, past Emily. My hand was on the knob when Claire's voice cut through the room like a blade. "If you walk out, you'll regret it." I froze, slowly turned. "Are you threatening me now?" Her expression had shifted again, calm and cold. "I'm telling you, you don't know everything. And if you leave right now, you'll never understand what's really at stake." That stopped me, because for all the betrayal, all the filth I'd just learned, there was something in her tone that felt dangerous. Not desperate, dangerous. "What do you mean?" I demanded. Claire smiled faintly, a smile that made my stomach twist. "Ask Emily." All eyes turned to her. She stood trembling, eyes red and swollen. She shook her head violently. "Don't, please." "Ask her," Claire repeated, voice silky, poisonous. I stared at Emily, my pulse racing. What is she talking about? Emily opened her mouth, closed it. She looked at me with terror so raw it made my skin crawl. And then she whispered one sentence that changed everything. "She doesn't just want love. She wants control. She's been planning this for months." Her words echoed in my skull, louder than any scream. Control. Planning. Months. Claire tilted her head, almost amused. "Really, Emily? That's the angle you're going with?" Emily wrapped her arms around herself, shaking. "Tell him about the accounts. Tell him what you made me do." "What accounts?" I asked, my voice hoarse, my throat dry as sandpaper. Claire's smile thinned. Don't listen to her. She's always been jealous of us. You know that. But Emily's face, God, it wasn't jealousy. It was fear. Bank accounts, Emily whispered. In your name. In his name. Money that doesn't exist. She forged everything. She said if I didn't help, She broke off, covering her mouth. Emily, Claire snapped, her eyes blazing. Shut up. But the damage was done. I stumbled backward, hitting the edge of the table. You're stealing from me? Claire stepped forward, her robe shifting around her legs, her perfume suffocating in the heated air. I was protecting us. You don't understand how money works, how families survive long term. I needed security. I needed options. Ryan, who'd been silent and pale as a ghost, finally spoke. This is insane. I'm not part of this. I thought. He stopped, rubbing his jaw, his voice cracking. I thought you cared about me. Claire spun on him, eyes wild. I do. You're both pieces of me, don't you see? That's why I needed you both. Pieces of you. My voice rose, trembling with rage. You've been lying to me, sleeping with him, dragging your sister into this. And what? Building some empire behind my back. Claire's hands shook, but her eyes never broke from mine. Empires are built on sacrifice. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Emily leaned against the wall, crying silently. Ryan grabbed his jacket, muttering to himself like he was in shock. I wanted to run. I wanted to hit something. But my body was stuck, locked in place, forced to absorb every venomous word coming out of Claire's mouth. Do you have any idea, she hissed, how much I've done for us? For you? The things I've had to risk just to make sure we'd never struggle again. You think love is enough? You think late-night takeout and promises about a lake house make life worth living? No. Stability, power, control, that's what matters. Her face flushed red, tears pricking her eyes. And you were too blind to see it. Emily finally found her voice. He wasn't blind. You were just cruel. That's when Claire snapped. Literally. She lunged at Emily, grabbing her by the hair, dragging her down to the floor. Emily screamed, twisting against her grip. Stop it, I shouted, rushing forward. I pulled Claire off, shoving her backward. Her robe slipped from one shoulder, exposing deep nail marks down her arm, self-inflicted or someone else's. I couldn't tell. She looked up at me with something new in her eyes. Not anger, not fear. Something colder. Calculation. You just made a mistake, she whispered. Ryan yanked Emily to her feet, shielding her behind him. We're leaving, he said firmly. But Claire stood, straightened her robe, and shook her head slowly. No one's leaving. Not until we finish this. The way she said finish made my blood turn to ice. Claire, I said carefully, holding my hands out. Whatever this is, whatever you've done, we can figure it out. But hurting people isn't the answer. She laughed. A low, bitter sound. You still think this is about love, don't you? That I wanted a ring, a wedding, a perfect life? No, I wanted control, and I had it. Until tonight. Her eyes flicked to Emily, then to Ryan. And you two ruined everything. Ryan's jaw tightened. You used me. You let yourself be used, she shot back. Because I know how to make people feel wanted, needed. Isn't that what you begged for every time? His face twisted with shame, but he didn't deny it. Emily finally stepped forward, her voice trembling but steady. You don't own us, Claire. Not me, not him, and not him. She gestured toward me. For a moment, I thought Claire might attack her again. Instead, she smiled. Slow, predatory. You really think he'll believe you over me? He's mine, Emily. He always will be. The room pulsed with silence, each heartbeat deafening. I shook my head. Not anymore. The words came out harsher than I expected. They cut through the air like a blade. For the first time that night, Claire's expression faltered. Her lip trembled, her mask cracking. But then just as quickly it was back. The smile, the cold fire in her eyes. You'll regret saying that, she whispered. And then a loud bang rattled the door. All of us froze. Someone else was outside. The bang was so sharp it felt like the walls shook. Emily clutched Ryan's arm. He stiffened, eyes darting toward the door. Claire, though. Claire just smiled. Right on time, she murmured. My heart dropped into my stomach. Who the hell is that? Another bang. Louder. Whoever it was wanted in. Ryan moved toward the door, but Claire lifted her hand like a conductor silencing an orchestra. Don't bother. He has a key. A key. The knob twisted. The door creaked open, and in stepped a man I'd never seen before. Tall, muscular, dressed in dark clothes, his face shadowed under the brim of a baseball cap. He closed the door behind him with deliberate slowness, like he owned the place. "Claire," he said, his voice low and rough. "Problem?" She tilted her head toward me, toward Emily, toward Ryan. "They're confused." The man's eyes scanned us cold, assessing. "You want me to handle it?" Emily let out a sharp breath, backing against the wall. Ryan stepped in front of her, fists clenched, but I could see the tremor in his hands. My own chest felt like it was caving in. "Claire, who is this?" She looked at me like the answer should have been obvious. "Insurance." The man smirked, revealing a chipped tooth. "Names don't matter. What matters is keeping things quiet." Everything in me screamed danger. The air was charged, humming with something violent just under the surface. Claire crossed the room with eerie calm, resting her hand on his arm like he was an old friend. "They need reminding that love without loyalty is worthless." "Claire," I said, my voice cracking, "what the hell have you dragged us into?" Her eyes gleamed. "You thought it was just an affair, didn't you? Something cheap. But I've been building something bigger. Bigger than us. Bigger than this." Emily whispered, "Oh God." Ryan muttered, "She's insane." The man took a step closer. I could smell cigarettes and leather on him. So, who's first? He wasn't asking Claire. He was asking her to choose. My skin went cold. My pulse hammered. This wasn't betrayal anymore. This was a trap. "No," I said quickly, stepping forward. "No one is first. No one is doing anything. You need to leave. Right now." The man tilted his head, almost amused. "Brave, but stupid." Ryan shifted, fists up like he was ready for a fight. Emily whimpered behind him. Claire's voice cut through the tension. "Stop." Everyone froze. She stepped into the center of the room, her silk robe pooling around her ankles. "This isn't about violence." "Not yet. It's about choices." Her eyes locked on me. "So here's yours. You can stay. With me. With what I've built. Accept everything. No questions, no resistance. And you'll have more than you ever dreamed of." Her gaze flicked to Emily. "Or you can walk away. With them. But if you do, you'll never be safe again. None of you." The silence that followed was unbearable. My heart slammed so hard I thought my ribs would crack. Ryan spat on the floor. "You're sick." Emily sobbed. "Please, just come with us." Her voice aimed at me, begging. But Claire's eyes burned into mine, daring me to choose. I couldn't breathe. My whole body shook. All the years of love, of trust, of promises, they blurred with the horror of this moment, twisted together until I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. And then the man shifted his weight, his hand sliding towards something in his jacket. Weapon. Instinct took over. I grabbed the nearest thing I could, one of the wine bottles on the table, and raised it. "Don't," I said, my voice steady despite the terror ripping me apart. "Don't you dare." The man froze, amused. "Got some fight in you after all." Claire laughed softly. "That's why I chose him." Ryan whispered, "We need to get out." Emily clutched his arm tighter, eyes wide with panic. The man studied me, then lowered his hand slowly, deliberately. "Fine. No blood tonight. But she's right. Choices matter." He glanced at Claire. "Call me when you're ready." And just like that, he walked out, calm, casual, as if he hadn't just promised violence in my own home. The door clicked shut behind him. The silence that followed was deafening. Claire turned to me, her smile sharp and brittle. "Now you see, this isn't just about us." "It never was." Emily's voice cracked. "You're a monster." Claire's eyes flicked to her sister, filled with something cruel. "And you're weak. Always have been." Ryan moved toward the door, tugging Emily with him. "We're leaving." Claire's voice sliced through the air. "If you go, you'll regret it." But Emily didn't look back. She shoved past me, tears streaking her face, dragging Ryan with her. The door slammed shut behind them, leaving me alone with Claire. Just the two of us. Her eyes softened now, her voice dropping to a whisper. "You'll stay. I know you will, because you're not like them. You're stronger. You're mine." I shook my head slowly. "No, Claire. You don't own me." Her lips curled into a smile that made my skin crawl. "Then why are you still here?" And I didn't have an answer. Her question echoed in my skull. Why was I still here? I could have followed Emily and Ryan out the door. I could have slammed it behind me, left Claire to drown in the madness she'd created. But I didn't. My feet wouldn't move. Claire stepped closer, her silk robe brushing the floor like water. Her voice softened to that dangerous sweetness I used to mistake for love. You stayed because you know I'm right. Because you feel it too, the pull of something bigger than ordinary life. I forced myself to breathe, steady and slow. No, I stayed because I don't recognize you anymore. Her smile faltered, but only for a second. Then she slipped onto the couch, curling her legs under her like it was just another Friday night. Like there hadn't been a stranger threatening us minutes ago. Sit with me, she whispered. I didn't move. She tilted her head. Do you think they'll protect you? Emily? Ryan? They'll turn on you the first chance they get. They're weak. You're not. I loved you, I said. The words came out cracked. God, I loved you more than anything. And you, my throat closed. You burned it all down. Her eyes shimmered with something unreadable. Because love isn't enough. Then what is? Control. She said it like a prayer. The silence that followed pressed against my ears. I thought of all the nights I'd held her when she cried. The mornings we'd laughed over pancakes. The plans we'd made for a future that now felt like a cruel joke. And underneath it all, something darker. A gnawing doubt that maybe, just maybe, I'd seen this side of her before. In flashes, in shadows. The way she'd cut people off when they didn't serve her anymore. The lies she'd spun about her co-workers. The manipulations I'd brushed off as quirks. Had she always been like this? Had I just been blind? I whispered, almost to myself, "Who are you?" Her smile widened, serene. "The woman you fell in love with. Nothing's changed." I just stopped hiding. A chill rippled through me. The apartment was too quiet without Emily's sobs, without Ryan's muttered curses. Just the ticking of the clock on the wall, counting down to something I couldn't yet see. Claire leaned forward, her voice a purr. "You'll come around. You always do. And when you do, you'll thank me." That was the moment I realized staying meant death. Not death of the body, death of myself. My soul. If I stayed, if I let her pull me back into her orbit, I'd disappear. I turned toward the door. Her voice cut through the air. "If you leave now, I won't stop him next time." I froze. My hand hovered over the knob. "What do you mean?" She leaned back, eyes glinting. "The man you met tonight. He doesn't like loose ends. And if you walk out, that's exactly what you'll be." My stomach twisted. Was it a bluff? Or was she really that far gone? Her voice softened again, almost tender. "Stay with me, and you'll be untouchable. Leave, and you'll be disposable." Every instinct screamed at me to run, but every step felt like stepping into fire. I opened the door anyway. The hallway was dim, shadows stretching long under the flickering light. Emily and Ryan were gone. I didn't know where they'd gone, and in that moment, I couldn't care. All I knew was that if I didn't get out, I'd never get another chance. Claire's voice followed me out, smooth and chilling. "You'll be back. They always come back." I slammed the door shut behind me, my pulse racing. But as I reached the stairwell, I froze. There was a figure waiting at the bottom of the stairs. The same man, baseball cap low, cigarette glowing in the dark. He grinned when he saw me. "Evening." My chest tightened. I glanced back at the apartment door, then down at him. No escape. He flicked the cigarette to the floor, crushing it under his boot. "She said you might run. Said you'd need convincing." I gripped the railing, my knuckles white. "If you touch me," he chuckled. "Relax. Nobody's touching anybody tonight. Just a message." He stepped closer, boots echoing on the stairs. "Stay loyal to Claire and you're protected. Walk away." And he let the silence finish the threat. Then he leaned in close enough that I could smell the smoke on his breath. "You don't want to know what happens when she feels betrayed." He pulled something from his jacket in an envelope and shoved it into my chest. "Think it over." Then he walked past me, whistling as he disappeared into the night. My hands shook as I opened the envelope. Inside were photographs of me, sleeping, at work, at the grocery store. Someone had been watching me for months. And in the last photo taken just yesterday, I wasn't alone. Emily was standing beside me, a red X slashed across her face. My stomach lurched as I stared at the photo. Emily's face crossed out in thick red ink burned into my eyes. I nearly dropped the envelope, but my hands wouldn't let go. My pulse pounded in my ears, drowning out everything else. They'd been watching us, not just me. Her too. I shoved the photos back inside and stumbled down the stairs, bursting out into the freezing night air. My breath fogged, ragged, like I'd just run miles. Where had Emily gone? Was she safe? I pulled out my phone, thumbs fumbling. I called her. Once, twice, straight to voicemail. "Come on, Emily," I muttered. Then I tried Ryan. He picked up on the third ring, his voice low and urgent. "What the hell happened up there?" "Where's Emily?" I demanded. "She's here with me." He hesitated. "We're at her car. She's shaking, but she's okay. For now." I gripped the phone tighter. "Listen to me. You both need to get out of here. Right now." "Why? What did she do?" "It's not just her," I whispered. My eyes scanned the shadows of the street, expecting that man to appear again. "There's someone else, watching us, threatening us. They know everything." Ryan cursed under his breath. I knew it. I knew she was into something bad. "Emily's been saying it for months, but what do you mean?" "She tried to warn you," Ryan said, his voice tight. "Told you Claire wasn't who you thought she was, but you wouldn't hear it. None of us did." He stopped suddenly. I heard muffled voices in the background. Emily crying. Ryan's tone sharpened. "Wait. No, Emily, stop. Don't." The line went dead. "Ryan?" My voice cracked. "Emily?" Silence. I sprinted toward the parking lot, my shoes slapping the pavement. The night air bit at my skin, but adrenaline burned hotter than the cold. The lot was nearly empty. Just Emily's car under the yellow glow of a flickering light. The driver's door hung open, swinging slightly in the wind. And they were gone. My chest collapsed. Panic roared through me. The envelope slipped from my hands, photos scattering across the asphalt. I barely noticed. My eyes were locked on the red smear across the car door handle. Fresh, wet, blood. I stumbled back, my legs shaking so badly I nearly fell. A sound cut through the night. A laugh, low, familiar. I spun, scanning the shadows. Who's there? The laugh came again, closer, from behind the row of dumpsters. And then he stepped out. Baseball cap, cigarette, that same chipped tooth grin. "Looking for them?" he asked casually, like we were talking about lost keys instead of two people who'd just vanished. My throat closed. "Where are they?" He blew smoke into the air, watching it curl. "Safe, for now." I took a step forward, fists clenched. "If you touched her." His grin widened. "Relax, I don't make the decisions." "She does." "Claire." The name cut through me like a knife. He tapped his ash onto the pavement. "She's generous, you know. Gives people choices. You just don't like the ones she offers. Tell me where they are." He shrugged. "Maybe they ran. Maybe they didn't. What matters is this. You're running out of time. Make your decision. Her or them." My chest heaved. What kind of decision is that? "The only kind that matters." He dropped the cigarette, crushing it beneath his boot. "Stay loyal, and you get protection. Cross her, and..." He gestured toward the car door with its red smear. "You know the rest." He turned and started walking away, whistling that same tune. I shouted after him, "If you hurt her..." He didn't even glance back. "It won't be me who does it." And then he was gone. The silence after he disappeared was worse than the threat itself. I was shaking so hard I could barely stand. Emily, Ryan, where had they gone? Had Claire taken them? Or had they run into something worse? I staggered back to the car, staring at the blood smeared across the handle. My reflection in the window looked like a stranger, wild-eyed, broken, desperate. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I opened it with trembling hands. It was a photo. Emily, tied to a chair, duct tape across her mouth, her eyes wide with terror. The text beneath it was simple. "Come home, or she doesn't." I dropped the phone. It clattered against the pavement, the screen glowing like a cruel beacon. My breath caught in my throat. I was trapped. Either walk back into Claire's web, or let Emily suffer the consequences. And deep down, I already knew I had no choice. My knees nearly buckled when I saw that photo. Emily's terrified eyes burned into me, sharper than any blade. I picked up the phone, hands trembling. My own reflection stared back from the black screen after the message, faded eyes hollow, jaw clenched. I barely recognized myself. Come home. Those two words were chains. Claire wasn't asking. She was commanding. I forced my legs to move. Every step back toward the apartment felt like walking into quicksand. My chest was tight, my breath ragged. My mind screamed to turn around, call the police, run. But I knew Claire. She always planned 3 steps ahead. And if I called anyone, Emily would pay first. The apartment door was unlocked, waiting. I pushed it open, my body rigid. The living room was dim, lit only by a single lamp in the corner. Claire was on the couch, cross-legged, a glass of wine in her hand, like she hadn't orchestrated hell itself. "You came back," she said softly. "Where is she?" My voice cracked. Her lips curled into that same infuriating smile. "Safe, for now." I slammed the door behind me. "Don't play games with me, Claire. Where is she?" She swirled her wine lazily. "That depends on you." I stepped closer, rage clawing at my throat. "You're sick. Do you even hear yourself? This isn't love. This isn't control. This is power," she interrupted smoothly. "And whether you like it or not, I hold it, right now, over you, over Emily, over everything." I wanted to lunge at her, shake the truth out of her, but I forced myself still. Losing control would only feed her. "Why her?" I demanded. "Why drag your own sister into this?" For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Something almost human, but it vanished as quickly as it came. "Because she never understood," Claire said quietly. "She always wanted to expose me, to ruin me, and I couldn't let her. So I gave her a choice: stand with me or stand against me. She chose wrong. You're insane." "No," she whispered, leaning forward. "I'm free. You just can't see it yet." I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. "If you hurt her," she laughed, "you're still pretending you have leverage. You don't. The only thing you can do is decide which side you're on. Mine or theirs." My phone buzzed again. Another photo. This time, Emily's chair in a dark room. A shadowy figure standing behind her, knife glinting in his hand. I nearly dropped the phone. My chest seized. Claire's smile widened as she watched my reaction. "Tick-tock," she whispered. "Time is running out." "Where is she?" I shouted, voice breaking. She sipped her wine like my rage amused her. "That depends. Do you love me enough to prove it?" My heart pounded, my mind spinning. Prove it. She wanted submission, surrender. She wanted me to break. I took a step closer. "If I say yes, if I say I'm with you, you'll let her go?" Claire's eyes gleamed. Of course, but there was something in her tone. Too smooth. Too rehearsed. She was lying. My stomach twisted. I couldn't trust her, not anymore. Maybe not ever. But Emily didn't have time for me to gamble. I forced the words out, each one like glass on my tongue. "I'm with you." For the first time all night, Claire's expression softened. Genuine warmth flickered across her face. "Finally," she whispered. "You see." I swallowed hard. "Now let her go." She tilted her head. "Soon. First I need proof." My blood ran cold. "Proof?" She stood slowly, setting her wine glass aside. She walked toward me, her silk robe brushing against my legs as she stopped inches away. I could feel her breath against my skin. "Kiss me," she whispered. The world tilted. My stomach turned. I wanted to shove her away, to scream, to claw my way out of this nightmare. But Emily's face-taped mouth, wide eyes, the knife glinting seared into my mind. I bent down and kissed her. Her lips were warm, familiar, but my body felt ice-cold. She sighed against me, her hands sliding up my chest. For a moment, it was almost like the past, the nights when love felt real, when nothing else mattered. But then she pulled back, her eyes searching mine. "There it is," she murmured. "The proof." My phone buzzed again. Another photo. This time, Emily's chair was empty. I staggered back, clutching the phone. "Where is she?" Claire smiled sweetly. "Safe, just like I promised." But deep down, I knew. Safe wasn't the same as free. And as Claire reached for my hand, I realized something terrifying. I hadn't saved Emily. I'd only bound myself tighter to Claire's game. And I didn't know if I'd ever get out again. The photo of the empty chair burned in my hand. Emily was gone, but gone where? Safe? Dead? Hidden somewhere I'd never find her. Claire's fingers laced through mine, delicate and firm, like a noose disguised as a touch. "See? You and I. We're unstoppable together." I yanked my hand free. "Tell me where she is." She tilted her head, a faint smirk tugging at her lips. "Why are you so obsessed with her? With them? Haven't you realized yet? They're pawns. You and I, we're the kings. You're not making sense." Her voice dropped lower. "Emily was never innocent. She betrayed me long before tonight. She's been digging, whispering, trying to poison you against me. And Ryan," Claire's lip curled, "he's nothing. A distraction. A piece I used to test you." My pulse hammered in my ears. Test me? She leaned closer, her eyes locking onto mine with unnerving intensity. I needed to know if you'd stand beside me when it mattered. If you'd choose us over everything else. My stomach churned. This wasn't love. This was possession. You're insane, I muttered. Her expression flickered anger flashing like lightning. No, I'm the only one who's awake. I paced, gripping my hair. Every corner of the apartment felt smaller, darker, like the walls themselves were closing in. Where is Emily? Claire sighed dramatically, like I was a child throwing a tantrum. Fine. You want answers? I'll give you one. She snapped her fingers. The front door opened, and Emily stumbled inside. Her hands were free now, but her face was pale, streaked with tears. She looked at me, eyes wide with terror, then at Claire, flinching like a beaten dog. What did you do to her? I demanded. Claire waved a dismissive hand. Nothing. She's unharmed. See? But Emily's trembling body told a different story. Tell him, Claire said sweetly, her voice sharp beneath the sugar. Tell him you're fine. Emily's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. Then barely audible, I'm fine. The lie was louder than any scream. My chest ached. I wanted to run to her, to pull her away, but Claire's eyes pinned me in place. This is the truth, Claire whispered. You belong with me, not with her, not with anyone else. And if you keep fighting it, you'll only hurt the people you think you're saving. Emily finally broke, sobbing into her hands. She's never going to let us go, she whispered. Something inside me snapped. Enough. I roared. The sound startled even Claire. She blinked, taken aback, but only for a second. Then she laughed. That's the fire I wanted to see, she said, stepping closer. That's why I chose you. Not Ryan, not Emily. You. Her words slithered under my skin, wrapping around my ribs like chains. I turned to Emily. Go. Get out. Emily shook her head frantically, eyes darting to Claire. I can't. Shoo. I'll what? Claire cut in, her smile sharpening. What could I possibly do that hasn't already been done? Ryan appeared in the doorway then, breathless, his shirt torn, his eyes locked on Emily. Come on, we have to go. Claire's expression soured instantly. Pathetic, she spat. Ryan pulled Emily toward the hall. She resisted at first, her body frozen in fear, but then she stumbled forward, clinging to him. Claire lunged. I caught her arm mid-swing, stopping her inches before she could claw at Emily's face. She whirled on me, eyes blazing with betrayal. You'd protect her over me? She screamed. I shoved her back, my own voice raw. I protect anyone from you. Her face crumpled, fury and heartbreak twisted into one monstrous expression. You'll regret this, she hissed. Emily and Ryan bolted out the door, footsteps pounding down the hall. The sound grew fainter, swallowed by the night. And then it was just me and Claire. She straightened her robe, smoothed her hair, and stared at me with eyes that no longer looked human, empty, bottomless. You think this ends with them running? She asked quietly. No, this doesn't end until I say it does. I felt my blood run cold. She stepped closer, lowering her voice to a whisper meant only for me. And you, my love, you'll never be free. Not until you understand. Not until you break like I did. Her words slithered inside me, poisonous and suffocating. I wanted to scream, to tear away, but all I could do was stand frozen under the weight of her gaze. Then suddenly the front door slammed again. Not Emily, not Ryan, someone else. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hall. Claire's smile widened, sharp and wicked. Looks like the night isn't over. And when the figure stepped into the living room, my breath caught in my throat. It wasn't the man with the baseball cap. It was someone I recognized. Someone I never expected to see standing there. The figure stepped into the light, and my heart stopped. It was David, my oldest friend. The man who'd stood beside me at every milestone of my life. Graduations, heartbreaks, funerals. The man I trusted like a brother. He looked different now, harder, his shoulders tense, his eyes shadowed. But it was him. David? My voice cracked. He didn't smile, didn't speak, just shut the door behind him and locked it. Claire's grin widened. Perfect timing. My chest constricted. You know him? Claire's eyes sparkled with cruel delight. Of course I do. Who do you think introduced us? My stomach dropped. David finally spoke, his voice flat. I told you she was trouble. I told you to keep your distance. I staggered back. What the hell is going on? You're working with her. He didn't answer. Not directly. He stepped further into the room, his boots heavy against the floor. Claire brushed past me, her hand grazing my arm like an afterthought. She went straight to David, resting a hand on his chest like they'd known each other for years. He understands, she purred. He always has. I couldn't breathe. The room tilted. My best friend, my partner in crime since childhood, standing with her. Why? I croaked. Why would you do this? David's jaw clenched. Because she's right. You think life's about love and loyalty and fairy tales? It's not. It's about survival. And power. You sound just like her, I whispered. His eyes flicked to me, hard and cold. Maybe she taught me what you were too blind to see. Claire smiled at me over her shoulder. You never really knew him, did you? Memories slammed into me. Nights of drinking, David listening to my doubts about Claire. The way he'd asked questions about her job, her family, her habits. At the time, I thought he was just being protective. Now I saw it for what it was, recon. You set me up, I whispered. Claire tilted her head. Correction, we set you up. My hands shook. Rage and betrayal tangled until I could barely stand. You, both of you, you're monsters. David's expression didn't change. No, we're survivors. And you should thank us. We gave you a chance to choose the winning side. Claire stepped closer again, her perfume wrapping around me like poison. All you have to do is say yes, stand with us. And everything you want, safety, protection, power, it's yours. My throat burned. And Emily? Ryan? She smirked. Expendable. The word hit me like a punch. I lunged forward, fists clenched, but David intercepted me, shoving me back against the wall. His forearm pressed across my chest, pinning me in place. His face was inches from mine, his breath hot. Don't be stupid, he growled. You're not walking out of here alive unless you play along. I struggled, fury exploding inside me. You were supposed to be my friend. His eyes flickered something human, something guilty, but it was gone in an instant. I was, until I saw the truth. Claire's voice was soft, almost gentle. Don't fight it. Just give in. You'll thank us later. I stared at her, my pulse hammering. If I join you, if I say yes, do you swear Emily walks free? Claire hesitated, then nodded. Yes, but her eyes gave her away. She was lying. My chest heaved. I had seconds to decide. And then, salvation came from the unlikeliest place. The window shattered. Glass rained across the room. A brick clattered onto the floor, rolling to a stop at Claire's feet. She shrieked, stumbling back. David's grip loosened just enough for me to shove him off. We all turned toward the broken window, and standing outside on the fire, escape-bloodied, bruised, but alive, was Ryan. He had a length of pipe in his hand, his chest heaving with adrenaline. Get away from him, he shouted. Claire's eyes went wide with fury. Impossible. Emily appeared behind him, clinging to the railing, her face streaked with tears but alive. My heart surged. Relief and terror crashed together. Ryan pointed the pipe through the shattered frame. You're not taking him. Not tonight, Claire hissed, her mask of calm finally cracking. David moved toward the window, but I grabbed his arm, yanking him back. For the first time all night, the power shifted. We weren't trapped anymore. Claire's voice rose, sharp and venomous. This isn't over. You can't run from me. But Emily's voice cut through, trembling yet strong. Watch us. The four of us locked eyes through the broken glass, me, Claire, David, and Emily, and I knew with bone-deep certainty. The next move would decide everything. For a heartbeat, the room froze. Shattered glass sparkled across the floor like ice. Ryan gripping the pipe on the fire escape, Emily clinging behind him. Claire's eyes were wild, her smile fractured. David's fists clenched at his sides, torn between me and them. Then everything exploded at once. Claire lunged for me, nails slashing. I dodged, shoving her back into the wall. David roared, charging at Ryan through the broken window. But Ryan swung the pipe with brutal precision. The crack of metal against bone echoed through the apartment. David stumbled, clutching his shoulder with a howl. Go, Ryan shouted. Now! I grabbed the closest thing I could, a heavy lamp, and hurled it at Claire as she scrambled toward Emily. The lamp shattered, sparks flaring, smoke rising. Claire shrieked, stumbling back. I leapt through the window onto the fire escape. The cold night air slapped me awake, adrenaline coursing. Emily grabbed my arm, eyes wide with terror. "Don't leave me with her," she begged. "I won't," I said, and I meant it. Ryan swung the pipe again, keeping David at bay. "We've got to move." We pounded down the fire escape, metal rattling beneath our weight. Claire's screams echoed behind us, furious, inhuman. "You think you can run?" she shrieked. "You belong to me." We didn't stop. We couldn't. At the bottom, we hit the alley. Ryan's chest heaved, sweat dripping despite the freezing air. Emily clung to me like she'd never let go. And then boots thundered behind us. David, his face twisted with rage, blood streaking his temple. He lunged, grabbing Emily by the arm. "Let her go." I roared, slamming into him with everything I had. We crashed into the wall, fists flying. His punch split my lip, the taste of copper flooding my mouth. I swung back, connecting with his jaw, the crack reverberating up my arm. Ryan rushed in, pipe raised, but David shoved me into him, sending us both stumbling. Emily screamed, thrashing in David's grip. And then Claire appeared at the top of the fire escape, silhouetted against the night sky. Her robe whipped in the wind like a banner, her voice slicing through the chaos. "Stop," she screamed. "Enough." David froze. Emily's sobs filled the silence. Claire descended slowly, each step deliberate, her eyes locked on me. "You're mine," she whispered. "All of you. You think you can break free, but you'll always come back." I wiped blood from my mouth, my chest heaving. "Not this time." She smiled faintly. "Then watch what happens when you defy me." Her hand slid into her robe. For a second, I thought it was another bluff, but then she pulled it out. A knife, gleaming under the streetlight. Emily gasped. Ryan stepped forward, pipe raised. Claire's voice dropped to a chilling whisper. "If I can't have you, no one will." She lunged, everything blurred. I shoved Emily aside, the knife flashing past my ribs. Ryan swung the pipe, the clang of metal against steel ringing out as it knocked the blade from her hand. It skidded across the pavement. David dove for it, but I tackled him. We wrestled in the dirt, his fists hammering my sides. I grabbed a broken shard of glass from the alley floor, pressing it against his throat. "End this," I growled. His eyes flickered fear, regret, something human breaking through the ice. But then he snarled, shoving me off. Ryan kicked the knife away, sending it clattering into the gutter. Claire shrieked, lunging after it, but Emily, trembling and furious, grabbed a brick from the ground and hurled it. It struck Claire square in the temple. She collapsed. Silence fell. David froze, staring at her motionless body. His chest rose and fell in rapid bursts. No, she's not." Ryan raised the pipe again. "Try me." David's hands lifted slowly. His voice cracked. "I didn't sign up for this." He glanced down at Claire, at the blood trickling from her temple. Then he bolted into the shadows, vanishing into the night. We were left in the alley, breathless, broken, surrounded by shards of glass, and the faint sound of sirens in the distance. Emily collapsed against me, sobbing. Ryan dropped the pipe, his hands shaking. Claire groaned, rolling onto her side. Alive. I stared down at her, my chest hollow. This woman, the love of my life, the nightmare that followed, looked small now, fragile, but I knew better. The sirens grew louder. Emily's voice trembled. "What do we do?" I looked at her, at Ryan, at the blood on my hands, the bruises on my body, the wreckage of everything we'd been through. And I knew the answer. "We tell the truth," I said. My voice was steady, stronger than I felt. "All of it." Claire's eyes flickered open, hazy, unfocused. She whispered, "You'll regret this." I crouched beside her, my voice low and final. "No, Claire, you will." The sirens wailed closer, red and blue lights flickering against the alley walls. That was the night the perfect relationship unraveled. Not slowly, not gently, but in shards and blood and fire. And it was the night I learned a truth I'd never forget. Sometimes love isn't love at all. Sometimes it's the sharpest weapon a person can wield. And survival changes everyone.